Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about sit-down chain restaurants and doing a tier list based on all of the main top chain restaurants that we have in the nation. Thanks for sticking with me on this one. This is going to be a little bit different than our normal video, but it's something that was requested by multiple people. They wanted to see me do a tier list on this, and so I'm going to share my very honest thoughts and my best review possible that I can of all these restaurants. We got a lot to get through today, so without any further delay, let's get right into it. First one that we're going to kick it off with is Texas Roadhouse. And I'm just going to move it up to F tier just so you guys can see it. Texas Roadhouse to me is a solid chain restaurant. And the biggest thing like carrying it to me is those rolls. The rolls with that butter, there's nothing like it. They literally have the best rolls of the entire tier list. I'm from Texas, so maybe I'm a little biased. I think their food is all right. It's passable. I feel like it leaves a little bit much to be desired, but the rolls are so godlike that this is just an A tier for me. It's a solid A. I'm never going to complain about going to Texas Roadhouse. If the boys want to go, we're going. We're going to eat some peanuts while we wait, and we're going to fill up on rolls, and then we're going to take some home with us too. Just an absolutely banger chain restaurant. All right, next up, again, bringing it up in the F tier so you guys can see, we're going to be talking about Red Robin. Red Robin to me was always such an interesting one because they tried to capture that vintage, that throwback restaurant vibe. They had the shakes and whatnot that they would, hold upside down. They'd bring you the whole tin can that the shakes were made in. But Red Robin just did not age well. I actually went to Red Robin recently, and it was worse than mid. It was bad. Everything about it was bad. The drinks were bad. The food was bad. It was horrible. It's actually like gotten worse with time. It's dated. It's boomery. It's just not it. For what it is, like, we're looking at an E or D tier restaurant. I'm personally gonna put it in D, and I feel like even that, like, they're lucky to obtain. Next is Outback Steakhouse. I don't have a whole lot that I feel like I want to say about Outback Steakhouse. Of all the steakhouses on this tier list, they're pretty much hands down the worst one. Not a whole lot going on here. I'm not a big, bloomin' onion guy. I don't think that's really going to do a whole lot for me. I love them. I think they're good, but, like, that's not going to carry like the Texas Roadhouse rolls will. That doesn't carry you anywhere. So any place here that provides the bloomin' onion, like, whatever. That's just, you're one of many. So it's not like a big, deal for me. So to me, Outback is like an E tier place. Not much more I can say about it. Next up is Applebee's. So Applebee's is just insanely forgettable. I don't think I could think of any good menu item off their entire list that is actually iconic by any means. I think their steak frites were okay. They do a good job of, like, mixing up their menu seasonally, but, like, other than that, it's just a straight up worse version of Chili's. The only cool thing about Applebee's is that they were on Friday Night Lights. That's it. So, shout out to the waitresses at Applebee's from the TV show, but that's basically it. Applebee's is awful. It's mid. No one is ever choosing to go to Applebee's by any means. And I'm not even sure if I even know of any that exists to this day. This is a D tier chain restaurant. Now, speaking of Chili's, next up is Chili's. Now, Chili's is just iconic in so many ways. I mean, take their menu, for example. Like, we got some bangers on here, like the chicken bacon ranch quesadillas. We got the Cajun shrimp pasta is so good. The crispy honey chipotle chicken crispers are awesome. They were like one of the most iconic places to get a volcano, the molten lava cake dessert. There's something about the Chili's like salsa that is so like mediocre that it's addicting. Like, I cannot stop eating that salsa, and it's really not even very good. I think the skillet queso is actually really overrated. Like, the skillet is just a real gimmick. Like, there's nothing really going on there, but there's still something so quirky, so charming about Chili's that, like, that's the spot. I'll never say no to Chili's. If my friends want to go to Chili's, we're going. Chili's is a place I could go get hammered at with my homies, or it's a place that I can just end my night with, you know? It's a classic, it's iconic, it is the staple, and it is a straight S tier. Next up is Olive Garden. Olive Garden's a great, great place. I think Olive Garden is in a lot of cases overrated. I think some people might instinctively put this in S tier. I don't think it's quite S tier. Although their breadsticks are incredible, the endless salad is incredible. I think a lot of their appetizers are great. Their pastas are okay. I mean, they're definitely like a cheap Italian brand. Like, there's not really a whole lot special about their menu. But the endless salad and breadsticks are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I've had some good menu items off there that weren't, just your classics. They have some decent, like, what feel like healthy options, but they actually aren't. To me, Olive Garden is just a classic A tier. I just can't get behind the hype of it being an S tier, so people need to come down from that in their heads and just realize that Olive Garden's an A tier. You know, we're not going to complain too much for going to Olive Garden, but we also probably wouldn't go too far out of our way for it. I think A tier feels really comfortable to me. Next up is PF Chang's. PF Chang's is so bad. It is so bad. I feel like PF Chang's is trying to be something that it isn't. Like, it has a lack of identity, really. It wants to be something that's like high scale, or like upscale, but it's not. Like, it's so fake. It feels very two-faced. The menu sucks. The atmosphere is terrible at PF Chang's. It's not the spot. I'm leaving it here in F tier. To me, it's one of the worst options on this entire list. There's not a single thing on the menu that like speaks to me whatsoever. It's just an F tier chain. I cannot get behind PF Chang's whatsoever. IHOP. Now, for this tier list, let me say that okay, we're talking about IHOP now. For this tier list, I think everyone's going to basically agree with everything that I'm going to say here today. I think I'm going to be putting out opinions and a tier list that is non-controversial. That this is like the tier list for sit-down restaurants, except for this decision with IHOP. I think you guys might have some crazy reactions about this IHOP one, so please forgive me if you vehemently disagree. But IHOP to me is an A tier. It really is. IHOP has so much going for it. Have you seen their menu? It's huge. It has breakfast, lunch, and dinner options. It has a million different breakfast options. They always have seasonal things going on with their pancake deals. They have, the deal where you can eat as many pancakes as you want once a year. On that day, their beignets are great. Their waffles are great. The coffee with the mug is just such a classic like diner vibe at IHOP. The service there has always been impeccable at IHOP. It's great, and you can literally go there 24 hours. I'm not sure you could do that anywhere else except maybe Denny's. This is just so good. It's actually really affordably priced too. You're never feeling like you're getting cheaped out by anything at all. It's great. IHOP is very underrated, and I would be thrilled to go to IHOP any day of the week. It's very underrated place to me. But maybe that's because I have a bit of a sweet tooth, so I'll admit that. Okay, next up is Cracker Barrel. Now, okay, Cracker Barrel, some of you may have never even been to Cracker Barrel. I understand. But Cracker Barrel to me is probably, of all the places on this list, probably has genuinely the best food. Like, it just feels something homemade about it. The atmosphere there is nice. It's unique. It feels very porch city. The sweet tea is good. I love the tabletop games that they have. I love the breakfast they have at Cracker Barrel. So solid. The chicken fried steak there is actually pretty decent. I just think there's so much going for it. Their fried pickles are so good too. There's so many good things about Cracker Barrel that to me it's an A tier. It's a classic A tier with nothing that is like cheating its way to that A tier. It is just fully earned completely on their food and just a solid place. All right, next up is going to be LongHorn Steakhouse. LongHorn Steakhouse is kind of like the cheap like it's just a knockoff Texas Roadhouse. It's kind of mid in a lot of ways. However, it's definitely 100% better than Outback Steakhouse. So putting myself in between Outback and Texas Roadhouse, this feels like a C. There's no like iconic quirk about it to bring it up any higher, but it's also got way better food in every single category than Outback does. So Longhorn is a solid C, but I really can't give it much than that. It's just kind of getting beat out by other places here. Red Lobster is going to be our next one. Red Lobster's pretty freaking good. And it's been a long time since I've been to Red Lobster, but let me tell you, the biscuits at Red Lobster are almost as iconic and legendary as the rolls at Texas Roadhouse. These biscuits are incredible, and if you've never tried them with the applesauce, you have to try them. Red Lobster is legendary. I feel like one of the things that brings Red Lobster down is actually the seafood. Like the seafood itself is not something that I would ever want to recommend to anyone. At this day and age, in the year 2022, we're able to get some quality seafood options from a lot of local places, and so a chain seafood spot just doesn't feel right. Like I would never order the lobster at Red Lobster, and the fact that I'm even saying that just sounds almost sinful. So for that reason, I feel like it's got to be B tier, but it has a lot of good things going for it. I think the food overall is pretty solid. It's got a really good vibe. There's something just really like, you know, a childish memory about Red Lobster to me. And maybe that's just me being biased, but I do like Red Lobster, and to me, it's a B tier. All right, next up, we are talking about Buffalo Wild Wings. Now, Buffalo Wild Wings is pretty overrated. There's nothing really all that good about Buffalo Wild Wings. I think their wing sauces are pretty trash. There's not like a single wing sauce that I'm like, oh, that's a good one. No, they're all pretty bad. Whenever they say something is hot on their hot scale, it's really not. Nothing is hot at all. I've tried their cauliflower wings before too. Tasted like absolute dog shit, like straight up cardboard. No texture, no flavor. There's nothing going on with Buffalo Wild Wings. Their drink options are so bad. Some of the worst drink options of this entire tier list coming from Buffalo Wild Wings. Every concoction that they make is just, it's stupid. It's like they're just pouring random shit into a drink and pretending like this is going to be some cool new thing. If you haven't been recently, check out their Mountain Dew, margarita or whatever it is. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. What I will say about Buffalo Wild Wings is it is kind of fun. Now, it's not fun like how their commercial makes it out to be. They like to make you think that like, oh, everyone's going to be there watching the game and going crazy and celebrating. There's never really like a whole lot of people at Buffalo Wild Wings. It doesn't really go off. However, the biggest thing about Buffalo Wild Wings is they always have the UFC fights. There's not a lot of places that will have the UFC fights on for you to go catch them, because sometimes they're hard to get because they're pay-per-view. So not a lot of places will get that, and it's a little expensive for someone just to like watch at home. The Buffalo Wild Wings is a reliable place where you can go with either you or just one of your buddies and go catch the fight night, which is huge. One of my favorite memories was watching Conor McGregor win a fight while at Buffalo Wild Wings. He had a knockout in the first round, and we literally blew the roof off this place. If people had their cameras going, their cameras went flying. We were raging, moshing at Buffalo Wild Wings. It was a fucking movie. And for that reason, it's a high B. I feel like it captures like a good fun atmosphere because it's so shitty, but it's also like edible. I'm okay with it. I'm always happy to go get some wings even if they're not great. I'm just gonna stick with beer because all their drinks suck, and they have the UFC fights. I feel good about it. Buffalo Wild Wings, solid B. Again, it's another one of those places, like, if that's where the crew's going, I'm not really complaining. That seems like a perfectly fine place to me. Let's do it. Next up, we're gonna be talking about Cheesecake Factory. Cheesecake Factory to me is, look, I'm just gonna say it. It's C tier. I think the only cool thing about Cheesecake Factory is, again, all of the cheesecake options that they have, which is great. At least they're like doing a good job at like what they are naming themselves to be. Unlike Red Lobster, like I wouldn't even touch the lobster there, like at all. But at least Cheesecake Factory has a lot of actually very good cheesecake options, and I love cheesecake. That's great. However, I'm kind of a purist when it comes to cheesecake. I think the simpler the better. Like, just a classic cheesecake is good. So it's kind of gimmicky to have all these cheesecake options. Like, it just seems, you know, kind of eh. Cheesecake Factory also has a book of a menu. I'm telling you, it weighs like 3 pounds. You pick up this menu and it's like flipping through. It's like flipping through a freaking Bible, dude. It's so long. It doesn't need to be that long. It's actually gives me anxiety trying to pick what I'm gonna order at Cheesecake Factory because there's so many options. And on top of that, all those options are pretty overpriced. It just feels like kind of shitty. I never leave Cheesecake Factory thinking like, oh sweet, this is money well spent. No, pretty crap experience overall. I feel like Cheesecake Factory is a solid C. It's very edible overall. I think they have a lot of good menu options. It's just too many, which leaves them having like any real like, you know, icons, standouts, signature dishes on their menu. It's just a cheesecake place. So if you wanted to go to Cheesecake Factory to say like after work and just get a slice of cheesecake and maybe a whiskey or something, that maybe sounds a bit better to me. Next up, we're going to be talking about TGI Fridays. Look, TGI Fridays has surprised me before with, the quality of food it has. But it's not better than like an Applebee's or anything like that. So I feel like TGI Fridays is a D tier. I think I originally was lower on them, but TGI Fridays is more edible than, you would think, actually. I was pleasantly surprised. I think a lot of you guys want to put TGI Fridays in an F or E tier, F or E row, and that's just not where it is. Like they're a solid D, and I feel like TGI Fridays should at least be proud of that because I think a lot of people are really low on TGI Fridays. So I think that's a low D is where they belong. Okay, and last one we're going to talk about today is Denny's. Now, Denny's to me is, you know, this is the only other diner that's on the list, and you guys know I was really high on IHOP, so you know how I feel about like breakfast items. Denny's is just a shitty IHOP in a lot of ways. Everyone knows it. It kind of just smells like cigarettes. The service there is usually a lot worse than it is at IHOP. But their waffles are pretty good, and there's something just kind of fun and just, again, like iconic about Denny's. And I feel like that's kind of the whole thing. I feel like I've overused the word iconic, but really like these sit-down chain restaurants should have something that like people remember them for. And Denny's has that with their like cigarette smoke atmosphere. You got your homeless people in the corner who are there all the time. You got your regulars at the counter who are ordering all the same regular shit that they get every morning before they go drive their 18-wheelers on their, you know, week-long trip. Denny's is a C tier. Hell, it's even a high C tier. I don't know if I could put it quite in B because it is definitely way worse than IHOP, especially considering all the menu options. Hell, even down to the bacon. Like, IHOP even has better bacon than Denny's. Like, Denny's is just missing on all fronts compared to IHOP. But Denny's is a high C, and I think there's something just, again, funny about Denny's. I would love to have a scene in a sitcom or comedy movie at Denny's. I feel like that just is so fitting for the place. It's a solid C, and I'm happy with it. But that's it for all the sit-down chain restaurants we're doing today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Look, if you want to subscribe to the channel, please do. We'll have more tier lists coming out soon. If you're familiar with me and my channel, you know I mostly do WoW content. Today we're just having a little bit of fun. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.